high level, can you talk about the development process here? Like, did you tie up the ground for them, or did they already have the ground and then you worked through some of the designs and the approval process?
So it's really driven by what does the client want? This is the location they want. Let's present them different options. And then let's go put it under contract and go through the entitlement process.
So you look at a deal, you like the deal, you like the market, you think it's going to be a good fit for your company, you close on the deal, like the one we're talking about. How do you manage it? Are you handling property management in-house, leasing in-house, of course? You mentioned earlier as well that there's not a lot of new retail development at this moment. Is there a range that you look to pay per square foot to ensure that your product is protected against new supply?
Yes. General rule of thumb is we like to be in and around $100 a foot. New construction, if you take land out of it, is probably around $250. And so for someone to come in, they got to buy a piece of dirt and put $250 a foot on top of it. And in the markets we're buying, there's not a lot of available dirt. So one of the centers we have under contract right now that we're trying to close by the end of the year is in a historic neighborhood. There's a lot of moats around this property. You would have to tear down a bunch of old brick homes in St. Louis to build enough where you can compete and take away our grocery store or our fitness center or our Subway. And we like that. We like that there is a high barrier to entry, both on just the brain damage to go through acquisition and assemblage, but then you got to get through zoning. You got to get the neighborhood to agree to, a retail center when most municipalities want to see mixed use. They want to see high density. And so we like having that's already entitled, already zoned for a strip center with a big parking lot in front where it's easy to park and easy to get your groceries in a mature neighborhood, because we know that it's going to be impossible to replicate that at any level that's going to be a threat to us. Yeah, someone could come in and build a high rise, right, and put retail on the ground floor, but the retail is going to be a restaurant, and it might be a nail salon, but you're not going to replace a big 20,000 square foot grocery store. It's just, the odds of it are so minuscule, it's almost not worth talking about, if that makes sense.
Is there a bank there as well?
There is a bank.
Okay, I think I know what you're talking about.
We're looking for equity, Raj.
I 100% agree you can't replace it.
Right.
There's no room.
There's no room.
I think some of the grocery competition is shutting down or having some issues.
In St. Louis specifically, yeah. If we're talking about just St. Louis, there is a grocery concept that likes to be in urban locations that is having some issues, correct?
Yeah, which might drive sales to your center, potentially.
Correct.
So you look at a deal, you like the deal, you like the market, you think it's going to be a good fit for your company, you close on the deal, like the one we're talking about. How do you manage it? Are you handling property management in-house, leasing in-house, of course?
So we're trying to stay as lean as possible. So right now it's just the four of us. We have no staff, and we like it that way for a number of reasons, most of which is, there's a lot of headaches that come with managing people and payroll and HR and all that kind of stuff. And what we're good at is finding deals and asset managing them. And asset management is my role, what I did at Drury, which was, negotiate these renewals, keep the cash flow coming in, manage the budget, manage the property managers. I manage at Drury probably close to 1 million square feet with just me and a property manager, because of the nature of these deals. It's not as hands-on as a multifamily deal where you don't have people living there. And so our vision is to outsource property management, outsource legal, outsource accounting, so we can do what we do best and let people who love property management, who are experts in it, do that, and we pay them to do it. In the future, might we bring property management in-house? If we find someone who wants to do that for us, I think I'd be a terrible property manager. I'm really good at asset management, and my partners are really good at making rain and finding deals. I don't want any of them being property managers or pretending to be one. They'd be bad at it. So I'm just really a big believer in specialization and doing what you're meant to be doing and doing what you're good at. And if you came over and wanted to be a retail broker, you'd probably be terrible at it, because Rajdat was not meant to be a retail broker. You were meant to be the owner of Storyboard Living. So it's you may leave some money on the table, or we might leave some money on the table not having property management in-house or accounting in-house. But we think it's going to end up being a better result for our investors if we do let the professionals do what they do best.
That lean approach will probably help cycle in and out of deals quicker as well, or a lot easier. You don't have to restructure your property management company if there was one. So do you have a hold period that you're targeting with the fund in terms of each individual deal or the fund in general?
So the fund is designed to be a closed-end fund. And what that means is it's not the opposite of a closed-end fund is a rolling fund, where you have one fund that owns everything and you sell in and out of it. A closed-end fund is you raise for a certain period of time, you invest for a certain period of time, and then you close it. And then those are the only assets in that fund. And so our vision is to do a closed-end fund, this first one that has this specific vision or specific strategy to acquire with only cash and recap later when rates are accretive to the value of the deal. Fund 2 might be different than that, or it might be the same strategy, but the idea would be let's do multiple funds over time, and the hold period for each fund will probably be 8 to 12 years until we kind of come full cycle on the vision. You spend the first 3 years increasing value, increasing NOI through operations and leasing, and then in years 2, 3, 4, you will find that attractive capital, probably on a 5 or 7 year balloon. And when that 5 or 7 year balloon kind of rolls, hopefully you're in another bull run and you kind of sell at a compressed cap rate. Hopefully we're on fund 3 or 4 at that time. And maybe we roll everything up to a larger fish, a REIT or a pension fund that wants to acquire all the things that we've assembled. We did all the dirty work for them, and we professionalized all the property management and the reporting, and we've got all the leases on a standard form, and everyone's on triple net cams. And we think that's going to be attractive, though, to a buyer, and call it 8 to 12 years.
Are you buying just the strip center type of product we talked about, or are you also looking at like single tenant retail, some other forms of retail? I know you're not looking at big box.
The main thrust of our business is acquiring Class B shopping centers and doing them in the fund vehicle, just like the Drury family did when they were building hotels. You run into other things. And they got into the restaurant business, they got in the billboard business, they got all these things. We're not trying to do that. But one thing we are willing to do is develop for our clients. I mentioned at the top, my partners represent Circle K as an example. We have a site under control in St. Charles to build a Circle K development with 3 other retail pads. One of our clients is BJC Healthcare. We just completed a outpatient clinic for them in Godfrey, just north of here. 20,000 square feet for bringing in all those outpatient services out of the hospital. So that was client driven. They liked us. They liked the way we do business. We could deliver for them. We did deliver for them. They're open and operating. Well, just like what I'm trying to say, Raj, is like those will come driven by the client. When the client wants us to develop something, we'll do it. We're not going to go tie up a bunch of sites and try to pigeonhole into a client. It's going to be client driven. And if our clients don't have a need, we are absolutely 100% committed and focused to the Class B neighborhood thesis. But as tenants lead us the horse to water and say, you guys are great, we want you to build another one of these, we can scale up and do that.
I'm curious then how the BJC deal came to fruition, because I think they're the largest hospital system in Missouri, and I think they're the largest employer in St. Louis. They're not the largest. They are the largest then. So how did that come to fruition? Because you said it's kind of client driven. Mm-hmm. You did it because they wanted it to be built. So how did that deal get presented to you, and how did you decide to work with them on this?
So my partner, Jared, represents BJC, and BJC had a need. They have a need for an outpatient clinic. Alton Memorial Hospital is the main, hospital location for them in that area. And it gets expensive when you have someone coming in for a routine physical, or you have a pediatric clinic in there and kids need to get checked up. It's so much easier in a retail setting. It's so much easier in a one-story building where the parking's in front, like everything we've been talking about. It's good access, good visibility on a major thoroughfare. And so like you see urgent cares popping up around town. It's that same model where you go where the people are. And they identified that as a need for them and had Jared go in looking for sites. And ultimately, you probably need to have Jared on to talk about how it transitioned, but ultimately we were asked if we could develop it for them. And of course we jumped at the opportunity. Jared has been doing their work for years. He does a tremendous job for them. He's found them a ton of sites. And this one, it was just the right fit where they had a need for a developer, and we could fill that need for them because we have the development experience. I've developed for Drury. I developed for Opus. My partner Chris has developed CVS's and Starbucks, and so we have a development experience level in our shop that we can dribble with our left hand and with our right hand in that sense.
At a high level, can you talk about the development process here? Like, did you tie up the ground for them, or did they already have the ground and then you worked through some of the designs and the approval process?
Yeah, so I think that's maybe the differentiator from us, from maybe a typical developer, is when it is client driven, you find the site first for them, right? We're not out in the market trying to just find any corner and seeing who could fit there. We know where Circle K wants to be because we presented them 10 sites and this is the one they picked. And BJC was presented a dozen sites and this is the one they picked. So it's really driven by, what does the client want? This is the location they want. Let's present them different options. And then let's go put it under contract and go through the entitlement process. And Godfrey was fantastic. I mean, they were very receptive to the idea. The city council was fully on board, and we went through pretty smooth sailing from an entitlement process. So that's a rarity. Typically there's a lot of hoops to jump through when it comes to development. There's a lot of entitlements and a lot of aldermen you got to meet with and present to city council a number of times and get the mayor's blessing, and you got to go through staff, and all that stuff is well and good, but it is a nice breath of fresh air when you get a city that says, let's go.
Right. So for a client-led development, this is like something I don't really hear much about. I'm more so thinking about or talking about your typical development structure. You're tying up the ground for them after they choose the site, and then you're building the facility or the center, and then are you selling it to them, or how does this look?
The way you can structure it in a million ways, right? But this one in particular, we placed the property under contract and we hired the civil engineer to design a layout that fit their needs. We hired the architect to design the building the way they needed it, and the client drove all those decisions, right? We hired them, but it really is whatever you guys want. What is your prototype? How does this fit? How does this work for you? And then we went out and got a construction loan and built it for them. And we had to have weekly meetings with their team to go over progress and make sure that they knew exactly what was happening and answer any questions that the contractor might have had. Say, this wall needs to move 6 inches this way or 6 inches that way. The person at BJC had to make some decisions in that with the architect. And so it was really, how can we serve the client and what they need? And our team did a fantastic job and I think BJC felt really great about the end product. And then we owned it. I mean, we owned the land, we owned the building, and we leased it to them. So they had a 10-year lease that they leased from us.
Okay. Now I understand. So that's really, to me, it sounds like the perfect scenario from the owner operator's perspective. If you have that tenant in your back pocket before you even break ground, that sounds like a dream scenario.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say it's in our back pocket. I mean, they let us, right? I mean, it's for them. They're the ones who want this structure, and all we were there to do was serve as the conduit to get them, because they're not in the development business. They are in the healthcare business. So they needed someone to solve that issue for them, and we were thrilled to do it for them.
Yeah, so in your front pocket, even better.
Yeah. I mean, they're not. I'm in their pocket, really. Like, it's their pockets, and I'm the one who's. Thank you. This is great. Thank you.
They had Tom in their back pocket.
Yeah, absolutely.